What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Talkin Football Podcast, episode 41. It's been a while, but we are back and we are going to continue to try and get videos out. It's really, really dry right now, and there's really nothing going on, but we're still going to be pushing through. In today's episode, we are going to do a basic recap of what's happened over the last week-ish, week and a half. And I'm just going to hit the intro. Let's get right into the news. So depending on when you're watching this, I hope you guys enjoyed or are enjoying your 4th of July weekend. And also, let me just say thank you all for the incredible amount of support on my one of my latest shorts where I did top 5 commentators, and it's over 100,000 views on the shorts page right now. So definitely check that out if you guys haven't yet. So again, thank you for all the support. Also, if while you're there, I posted top 5 quarterbacks, and that is going to be our new shorts, mini series, I guess you want to say it that way. I'm going to do top 5 at each position going into the season. And I'm also going to be posting some fantasy stuff soon, and definitely keep a look on my Instagram. I posted, and I'm going to talk about the Minkah and Ramsey trade in just a little bit. I posted my reactions to that there. So some of you might already know what my reaction is on this, but definitely check out Talkin Football Podcast on Instagram. It's at Talkin Football Pod. It's the same at here, and that's on Instagram. So definitely check that out. During this video, after this video, I don't care. Just make sure you check it out. Before we get into it, though, there's been a lot of commits recently. There was a kid, I don't remember his name, but there was a kid who just signed with Texas Tech, $5.1 million. That is absolutely nuts. 3-year deal, I believe. He was a 5-star prospect. I want to say he was a defensive tackle or defensive end, I'm pretty sure. That's nuts. I mean, he hasn't played he hasn't played a single snap of college football, and he's already getting north of $5 million. He's getting the bag. I can totally respect it. Speaking of other commits, Larry Fitzgerald's son just committed to Notre Dame. He's going to be joining Plaxico Burress' son, Elijah Burress, there, which is really, really cool. I believe his name is Tyler Fitzgerald, if I'm not mistaken. We will check that out. Sorry, Devin Fitzgerald. He is going to be joining Elijah Burress at Notre Dame. So we got some NFL legacy there at UND. We also have, and I would totally keep an eye on this kid in 3-ish years when he's going to the draft. Brandon Jacobs' son, former Giant, Braden Jacobs. He is a 4-star offensive lineman, 4 or 5-star. He just committed to Clemson a couple weeks ago. Let me tell you, this kid is if you thought Brandon Jacobs was a unit, this kid is he's way taller than him. He's way bigger. He is an absolute monster. So look, maybe 4 years-ish, maybe even 2, depending on what their eligibility is, you might see him in the draft. I'm personally, as a Giants fan, I would love him. I think he'd be a great fit on the Giants. I mean, I'm really looking forward to what he does in the NFL. But yeah, Brandon Jacobs, Plaxico Burress, and Larry Fitzgerald all have their sons in college football for this upcoming season. We are getting kind of closer. I mean, we're slowly getting there. We are in the first week of July, but I'm still hoping that we can kind of get closer to week 0. There was a game that was moved up. I believe UNLV is now playing in week 0 against, I don't remember who, but I remember they announced it. They said UNLV is now going to be playing in week 0 because there's a UFC event there, some kind of boxing event there. And so UNLV cannot play at Allegiant Stadium, so now they're going to be playing in week 0, which is always fun, right? We got college football week 0. We got another game. I remember last year it was FSU and oh my gosh, who was the other team? I am totally blanking on them right now. They went in and they played in Dublin. It was a great Georgia Tech. That's who it was. They played a great game. That game was really fun because Florida State coming to that game was number 10, and they're coming off an undisputed season. Everyone's like, oh, they should have made the playoffs. Oh, but 12 teams now, they're going to actually make it. And they were horrible last year. I mean, goodness, they sucked. They were horrible. Must turn off TV, in my opinion, and many other opinions. They were really bad. But the week 0 game was really fun. Great upset. I mean, getting a week 0 upset is something you always like to see. So we're getting a week 0 game there when we do that. First off, before we start, though, when I'm recording this, Cavante Turpin, I almost said Giants receiver, Cowboys receiver, he just got arrested for marijuana and gun charges. I don't know anything else about that. That's why I'm not making it like a sub news, but definitely look out for that. I don't know what's going on there. I don't really know what the actual story is, but I know Kevontae Turpin was arrested, or the news came out that he got arrested today, maybe about 15, 20 minutes before I started to record this. So definitely keep an eye out on that. If you NFC East fans, I know I'll definitely be keeping an eye on it. He is an absolutely incredibly good returner. But let's get into the news. Let's talk about it. We're going to start with the Minkah for Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith trade. Let's talk about this one. So when it first came out, I was like, holy cow, because Ramsey first got traded to the Steelers. Then they were like, okay, well, now we're going to send Minkah back to the Dolphins. And they're like, okay, now we're going to send Jonnu Smith back to the Steelers. So it was a game of hot potato pretty much in this trade. And it was very interesting because it was a couple of days beforehand, Ramsey was reported as being not an ideal target for the Steelers. A couple of days later, now he's a Pittsburgh Steeler. This is a very interesting trade for both sides because with the Dolphins, they have a very solid secondary. Not great. It's good enough to get by. And their safeties haven't been great recently. Obviously, they lost Javon Holland to the Giants this offseason, so that's definitely something that they were like, we need to address this somehow. And Ramsey was on his way out. So they're like, you know what? Let's get our old pal back. Let's get Minkah Fitzpatrick, former Dolphin, if you guys remember. He got drafted there in 2018. They brought him back. And Jalen Ramsey is going to Pittsburgh. In addition to that, Jonnu Smith and a 2027 fifth going back, 2027 7th back to the Steelers. So it's a very interesting trade. Arguably, in my opinion, the biggest trade that we've seen in a while. We haven't seen a trade like this in quite some time. It's a very massive deal, and it almost feels like a shift in attention. Pittsburgh looks like they might get over the hump of being 9-8, and I don't know if they have enough to do that, but something kind of feels different in the air at formerly Heinz Field. It just feels different. It feels better. This secondary, minus Minkah, obviously, their corners, Ramsey, Darius Slay, don't forget about him. They signed him this offseason after he got released by the Philly Eagles. I found that sounded really weird. By the Philadelphia Eagles. They have Ramsey, they have Slay, they have JPJ, who I love. That's a really good trio. Like a very, very good trio. You're in a division that has, with the Ravens, you have Hopkins. Washed, sure, but still a noticeable threat. You have Zay Flowers. Shifty is really a lot. I mean, he's like a tier 2 shifty receiver. Behind tier 1 to be like Jefferson, St. Brown, those guys. Zay Flowers is right under there, in my opinion. In terms of being shifty, in terms of being like a receiver, it's like a tier 3, tier 4. And they have Rashad Bateman, who really had a good year last year. Those three guys match up very well. Like, the three corners Pittsburgh has match up very well, in my opinion, to those three Baltimore Ravens receivers. And keep in mind, you have a defensive line that has TJ Watt, or maybe we'll get into that in a bit, that has maybe TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Alex Highsmith, their first-round pick that they just got from Oregon, Harmon. That's a really good front. That's a really, really good front. Like, this is a very good Pittsburgh defense. And I know it's like, oh, Pittsburgh has a good defense every year. No, but this year, I actually mean it. They have a really, really solid defense. Bateman can easily Ramsey or Slay. I personally think that Bateman should go on Ramsey, or vice versa. Ramsey should go on Bateman. And then you put JPJ on Flowers, and then you put Slay on Hopkins. Veteran on veteran with Slay and Hopkins. Ramsey on Bateman. Ramsey a little bit more familiar with Bateman's game. He's a little bit younger, a little bit more versatile. You can probably play that a little bit better. And then you have Flowers on JPJ. Those are two youngins that can easily battle that out. That's what I would do personally. But this is a really, really good trade for the Steelers. Let's look at the Bengals. They have Chase. They have Higgins. Guess what? Slay gets burnt. You can put JPJ in. Ramsey's locking down, locking down Chase like 7 for like 90. Like, that's a lockdown game on Jamar Chase, which is nuts. But having those three guys, even if you don't play all of them on all 3 snaps, or all 3 downs, you can rotate them. And that is a massive, massive thing. Having a trio like that where you can constantly move guys in and out in a division, Chase, Higgins, Judy, who had a great, great year last year, Bateman, Hopkins, Flowers. That is a really good move for Pittsburgh. I gave them an A- on my Instagram page. Definitely look at that pretty much what I said is what's on the Instagram post, but still, you guys can see my initial reactions. I'm better at getting the Instagram posts out, like those reactions, than getting like a short out. So definitely make sure you guys look at that. Minkah going back to the Dolphins, though, is interesting because, again, like I said, you lost Holland, but you have Minkah back. But the air just doesn't feel good in Miami. Something about it, I don't really know what, and maybe when I do my AFC East predictions or Miami Dolphins predictions, whatever, maybe I'll have them being better than they actually think they will be right now. But something just feels off. I did a mock draft the other day for fantasy, and I saw Tyreek was like ranked 40th. And I was like, why is he so low? And I'm realizing, I'm like, this team's like really washed. And I'll probably look back at this and say, like, I'm an idiot for thinking this, but like, something just doesn't feel right. But still, getting a guy like Minkah back, who was ultimate ball hawk, great zone safety, good man-to-man safety if you need to put him up against a tight end in that division that has Okonkwo, who has Tyler Warren now, who has, I'm totally blanking on who the Jaguars tight end is. But still, I mean, having Minkah to go up, and Minkah's not even in, Minkah's in the AFC East. Sorry. Having a guy like Minkah to go up against Hunter Henry, to go up against Kincaid, to go up against Knox. That's the kind of matchups that you want, not Tyler Warren. But he's still in a conference where you have Tyler Warren, and like I believe they play each other this year. So I think that's something to keep an eye on. Miami, I'm thinking Miami's in the South. I was like, oh yeah, they have those guys. I'm like, no, they do not. On the other end, Jonnu Smith goes back to the Steelers. I like this move a lot for Pittsburgh. Getting a guy like Jonnu Smith, a vertical tight end threat to complement Muth, TFP favorite, that's a massive, massive shift in ideology. But it's exactly what Arthur Smith did when he was in Atlanta. Because they had Kyle Pitts, and they usually had a more block-heavy tight end to go with him. Obviously, Kyle Pitts hasn't been great so far in his career, but having a guy like Jonnu Smith, who has that connection with Arthur Smith, and then you add him to an offense that already has a pretty decent offensive line, that has now Aaron Rodgers in what is likely to be his last year, DK Metcalf, Calvin Austin, who I really like, Freiermuth, Jalen Warren. Like, this is a really, really good group, and you obviously got a draft pick as well. And I think overall, I give an A- for both sides. But still, at the end of the day, I think this is a really good trade for both sides. And I think that's how we're going to end that analysis. Next up, we have another trade, which really surprised me as a Giants fan. Darren Waller went to Miami, which totally blew me away. Darren Waller, who was in retirement for a year, who has been on numerous podcasts saying, you know what? I'm done. I went to Buffalo on Sunday Night Football. I played fullback for 2 snaps. I said, I don't want to do this anymore. Now he has an opportunity to play in Miami. Now he's going to Miami. That, as a Giants fan, annoys me because you were given the opportunity numerous times to go out and be a true number one tight end, like to be the true number one option in an offense, like receiving option other than Saquon at that point. And you kind of dropped the ball. You weren't really a great player. Were you a difference maker? Not really. You were a very average tight end, which in the Giants scheme, that's all you need to be because we've seen Daniel Bellinger's played well. We've seen Theo Johnson played well. But you were very mid. And you knew it was cold. You went up to Buffalo. You played fullback because the Giants didn't have like any other players. You almost won a game, but you played fullback for like 2 snaps, and you said, no, I don't want to do this anymore. Really? But now we got Miami. Now we're open. Now we're going to do it. Whatever. This trade, it's the rights to Darren Waller and a 26th 7th in exchange for a 2026 6th round pick. It's a good trade for both sides. The Dolphins get a vertical threat tight end, which fits their scheme. He's on a 1-year, $5 million deal, I want to say. And they flip a 6th, and they get a 7th back. Draft capital-wise, it's not a big change. For the Giants, it is, though. For the Giants, it is a big change, and they're not going to be a playoff contender this year. But in a miracle season where they have the hardest schedule, and they open up against Washington, Dallas, Kansas City, and LA, you're probably going to go 0-4 in those games. But in the miracle world, where let's just say the Giants are in relative playoff contention, they could flip those 6th round picks. They have 3 of them now. Those are sweeteners. Those are ultimate sweeteners, and they can easily use that to maybe get another player. Again, that's a total dream world where they actually are in contention. But I think right now, it's a good trade for both sides. I would say Waller, I'd give the Giants like an A, I'd give both sides an A. It's a good trade. You get rid of the Waller rights and you get a better draft pick. Miami, you ship away a tight end who, didn't really, he said he wants to be there for the rest of his career, but you bring in Darren Waller. My only concern, though, he hasn't played in a year, and you're in a conference, or you're in a division, rather, that has really, really tough physical play. And if Darren Waller played fullback and he wasn't happy with it, imagine what the coverage is going to be like on him when he's a tight end, running routes. I think that's one of my bigger concerns, but I guess we'll see. The Bucs signed their head coach and their GM to multi-year extensions. I'm not totally sure what the length is. I just saw the update. It was multi-year deal. Said that is something we got to report here. When the Bucs first hired Todd Bowles, I was like, this is like the only move they could make, because Bruce Arians had just retired or stepped down from being a head coach. And I think one of the biggest things about this, I'm not a Todd Bowles hater. I'm not. He had a great coaching year last year. He really did. The Bucs defense was really good. But when they first did, I was like, I don't know. He has really built this team. He's really shaped it to be a very, very, very good, solid squad. Baker's playing his heart out. Mike Evans has been consistent as always. Chris Godwin's coming back. Again, coming off the ACL, which is going to suck, but, he's coming back. You still have Bucky Irving, who he has said has improved his footwork tremendously in the offseason, which is a very big plus. Your defense has always been good. Your offensive line's fantastic. Give credit to Bowles and Jason Licht here. They have a really, really good squad. Keep the guys together. And that's what Tampa's been really good at. When they won the Super Bowl with Brady after his first year, they brought everyone back. I'll give Tampa a lot of credit there. Not a lot of teams can do that. You saw Philly. Josh Sweat went to Arizona. He went to Arizona after winning a Super Bowl. That says a lot. You don't really see that too often. So having a team where you're able to bring a lot of the guys back, that says a lot about your kind of build as a team. That's really impressive that Tampa was able to do that. So obviously good signings here, bringing your head coach and your GM back for a couple more years until they have to re-up. Another extension, Steelers GM Omar Khan has extended for 3 years. He has really facilitated this offseason very well. They went all almost in, I would say. I wouldn't say they went all in. Obviously, they made the Metcalf trade. They made the Ramsey-Minkah blockbuster, bringing in Rodgers after like 4 months. Those were all good moves. They brought in Jonnu Smith. Omar Khan has really been a very solid GM, and I think it doesn't get enough credit for how good of a team Pittsburgh has been. Being consistently 9-8 is not an easy thing to do, and we know Tomlin's good enough. He's not going to have his team lose, but Khan has done a good job, and I'm going to give him credit there. I think some Steeler fans and a lot of NFL fans are like, we're sick of seeing, including myself for that matter, we're sick of seeing and the 9-8 Steelers get wiped out in the first round of the playoffs against a much better Ravens, Bengals, Broncos, whoever it might be. That is annoying, and it is, but they make the playoffs consistently, and Omar Khan does it well, and they have a consistently above average team This year it feels a little bit different. It does feel like like I said before, the air in Pittsburgh is a little bit different. But I still think that this is a good move, getting your GM back for another 3 years. I'll give Pittsburgh a lot of credit there because not a lot of teams are able to do that. Let's get to the extensions talks. Here we go. The ones that have been the most that have been talked about the most: Terry McLaurin in Washington and T.J. Watt in Pittsburgh, as I just mentioned before. These extension talks are not going well, ladies and gentlemen. They are not going well at all. Terry McLaurin has been very unhappy with how the talks have been going. I don't know if he's going to hold out. I don't know that yet. He might threaten it. I don't think he doesn't. That's not his character. He's not the type of person that would hold out. TJ Watt would, and I know he would. McLaurin, I don't know what exactly he's looking for. Given that Jefferson is making 35, I would probably assume McLaurin, given how good McLaurin has been with no matter who's at quarterback, I would assume that McLaurin probably wants north of 30. And that's fair because this is a team that doesn't have another real weapon. And no, Deebo Samuel is not another weapon. And I mean through the air. I mean, obviously, I like Brian Robinson a lot. I think he's a great, great, great running back. But look, you don't really have another receiver, and Jaden Daniels needs someone to throw to, right? You need someone to throw to, and your guys in McLaurin, they have great chemistry already. I don't know why you wouldn't give him the back. I don't know what the holdup there is. So it's either that McLaurin is asking for too much or Washington doesn't want to give him that much. Now, we've seen recently these wide receiver extension talks have really come down to the guaranteed money. That's what took Jefferson's a little bit longer. That's what took CeeDee Lamb's a little bit longer. Chase, Higgins, those receivers wanted more guaranteed money. I don't know if that's what's going on here, but I do know that it's not going well. They made very minimal progress, and I don't know what the root cause of it is, and I don't know what he's looking for. But whatever it is, Washington should pay him. And if you're looking at him in fantasy, hold off on it for a little bit. TJ Watt. Watt is looking to break Myles Garrett's contract. And Myles Garrett got 4 years, $40 million a year to add on to his pre-existing extension that he got before. This is, I think, reasonable. He's been very, very, very good. And he's not budging on it. And a quote dropped the other day. I don't remember where I read it, but a couple years ago when they were first talking about it, a Steelers rep said, I don't know if it was Omar Khan, but a Steelers rep said, you, as in TJ Watt and you, are very fortunate to be a Steeler. TJ Watt responded by saying, you are very fortunate. No, you are very fortunate to have me. That's not a good, if I'm a Steeler fan, I'm very worried. I am very, very worried. Now, I don't know if TJ Watt's going to request a trade. Wouldn't necessarily surprise me because, again, we saw that with Myles Garrett. He requested a trade. He got paid about a month later. He might do that to light some fire. I would expect the TJ Watt deal to get done, though, very soon. Just a matter of how long it's going to take. Again, Watt, we know he's looking to break Myles Garrett's contract. He's trying to get more than $40 million a year. And this brings me to another thought. I feel like sometimes we should have some kind of salary cap at each position. Sometimes I think that. And I know last year in the offseason, I uploaded a video where I talked about should there be a QB salary cap after Tua, Love, Trevor Lawrence, after those guys got their extensions, Herbert. I was like, should there be a salary cap for quarterbacks? And it's a genuine question because at some point, you're starting to think, should we kind of reconsider this? Should quarterbacks have a max where they can make? Because the salary cap is growing, which means their demands are going to go up. At some point, you should cap it. If the salary cap, let's just say, is 240, and your quarterback's making 60, that doesn't make me happy. That doesn't make me happy at all. You're making 25% of the salary cap. Look at what Dallas is doing. Is Dak really worth that much? No, he's not. He's not at all, which is why they should make a salary cap for quarterbacks. And or they should at least consider it. Maybe they should do the same here. Maybe because in my opinion, you have 5 premier positions: quarterback, wide receiver, offensive tackle, edge rusher, corner. Those are your 5 premier positions. Your interior linemen, you can have a couple of bench guys who can kind of rotate in. Your tight end, not as important in today's game. Your running back, not as important in today's game. You look at the defense, safeties have lost so much value. Linebackers have lost so much value because it's not about that. It's about can you cover? Okay, you check that box. Can you run fast? Okay, well you can't check that box as a linebacker, so now your value has gone way down. Watt and McLaurin are key positions. McLaurin being a receiver and Watt being an edge rusher. I feel like if there was some kind of salary cap on it, or that it changed every year, it can increase every year. And I'm not saying that you only have a certain amount to spend on edge rushers. I'm just saying edge rusher contracts can only go up to a certain amount. Like each contract has a cap. So, for example, let's do the Steelers, for example. They have Highsmith and they have TJ Watt, both as edge rushers. Let's just say the cap is like 40. TJ Watt can only make a max of 40, but that doesn't mean that Highsmith can't get paid. That means just Highsmith can only make 40, if that makes sense. And obviously, there's a lot of bumps to be ironed out there, but I think that's something that the NFL should maybe consider. I don't know. Let's talk about another contract. The Cowboys and Micah Parsons are going to talk about an extension during training camp. Haven't heard much progress on this end either. Micah Parsons really wants a lot, and I don't blame him because the Cowboys look very, very buns this year, for lack of a better word. They don't look like they're going to be that great this year. If I'm Micah, ask for the bag. Only problem with that, though, that is going to really tie up Dallas financially in terms of the salary cap. Dak's making 40, CeeDee Lamb's making 35-ish, I believe. And you're going to have Micah Parsons, who's going to have to make Trayvon Diggs is going to be making a lot. There's Deron Bland. There's a lot of guys who need to get paid. And I struggle to kind of figure out, how are you going to pay all these guys? Dallas, and I'm not saying this as a Giants fan. I'm saying this as an NFL fan. They should consider trading Micah Parsons. He has so much value right now. You can make an argument he's the best edge rusher. I think he's the most valuable one. He is incredibly young. He just started in 21. He's entering his 4th year, right? I mean, this is not something that he's entering his 4th. He's entering his 4th year in the NFL, which is crazy to think about already. But he has so much value. He's 25, 26, 27 maybe at most. He has at least 5, 6, 7, 8 years left of his prime. Trade him to a team that someone would easily give up 2 first-round picks for him. Easily. Who? I don't know. I feel like Miami might be willing to do that. They would never, ever trade him to the Eagles, but the Eagles would give like 3 if they could get Micah Parsons. They totally would. The Steelers, I think, would. I mean, now this is a blockbuster, and I have no rumors on this front. Parsons for Watt. Leave that in the comments. Would you do that if you're the Cowboys? Would you do Parsons for Watt? I don't think I would, or maybe Parsons for Watt. Maybe get some pick swaps in there. Like, that's a very interesting thing to think about because both are going to be making around $40 million a year. You got to figure that, unless Micah Parsons is like, okay, well, you guys have no money anyways because our mediocre quarterback, who is in the development stage, is still making, per Brian Schottenheimer, is still making $60 million a year for 3 more years, or 4 more years. Actually, I don't think he even kicked in yet. I mean, like, are you serious? That doesn't make sense. So maybe you might want to seek another spot. I've heard 0 progress has been made here, but it looks like they're going to continue to talk about an extension in the upcoming weeks as we get closer to training camp. Next up, the Cleveland Browns are unlikely to trade their rookie quarterbacks, being Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon, 3rd-round pick, and Shedeur Sanders, 5th-round pick out of Colorado. Again, this does not surprise me. This does not surprise me at all. I think the big thing to think about here is who's going to be starting. And we've heard that Joe Flacco is the guy. Myles Garrett and many other veterans in the Cleveland Browns locker room like Joe Flacco to be the starter, which is nuts. We are in 2025 and Joe Flacco is still starting. He is so old. Now, who would want one of these rookie quarterbacks, Sanders or Gabriel? An obvious one would be the Saints. That's a very obvious one there. Like they would easily trade for Gabriel or Sanders, but because they took Tyler Shuck, there's no reason for them to go after a guy like Gabriel or Sanders. But they would make sense. You know who else would make sense? The Rams. The Rams make a ton of sense. Getting a guy like Shedeur Sanders out to LA would be a very good idea, at least for marketing, because getting him into one of the top 3 markets in terms of advertising, New York and then LA, if you can argue Miami or Chicago, getting into one of those areas, that's a really big change of demographics for Shedeur. Where else? I don't really know. Seattle, maybe. They don't have an offensive mind coach. Obviously, Mike McDonald being a defensive coordinator for pretty much his entire career with Baltimore. I don't know if I'd want to do that if I'm a rookie quarterback with the Browns. I would say, no, I'd rather stay with Stefanski, work, maybe develop a little bit. Who else? I don't really know, but if I had to think of 3 teams off the top of my head, the Saints, the Rams, and the Seahawks definitely all come out to me as potential options there. But looking like these guys are not going to get moved. They currently have a lot of quarterbacks on their roster. They have Flacco. They have Watson. Well, Watson's out for the entire year, so I'm assuming he's going to go in the IR. They have DTR, I believe, is still there, and they have Sanders, and they have Gabriel. So that's 5 right there. One of them should get moved. I think DTR is probably going to be the odd man out because they're not going to trade rookie quarterbacks. I still think the idea that they drafted 2 rookie quarterbacks is stupid, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me. There is going to be no 18-game schedule until 2026 per the NFLPA when they're going to talk about the new CBA. I hate this. There should be no 18-game schedule. It is nuts. Because what makes a mediocre team than an 18-game schedule? If you're 10-8, what are you? If you're 11-7, what are you? Are you good? Are you bad? That's. I struggle with that. If you're going to be good or bad in that area. You know how good you have to be considered a really, really good team? You have to be 14-4. 13-5 is yeah, you're a good team, I guess. But that 5 is ugly. And 17 is perfect, in my opinion. I think 17 is perfect. I remember when they first switched to 17 games, I was like, it's all right. It's all right. The only reason they do 18 games is money. There is no player safety. It doesn't make sense. The NFL is a giant contradiction here, in my opinion. And Roger Goodell knows how to make them money. All right, that's not the issue here. When you talk about player safety as much as you do, but you want to talk about having an 18-game schedule, having teams go overseas every week, that doesn't make sense. Why? That doesn't make sense to me. Why would you want to have that? Why? And are you telling me right now that Brazil is craving NFL football? Because I know they're not. They want football. They want soccer. That's what they want. No, sure. But that Eagles and Packers game was electric. It really was. It was a really good environment there. But do you need to go to Brazil every year? Do you need to go? There's a couple that I'm okay, that's fine. I think Britain is England. That's the one where I would say, you should go there every year because that's the one that they've already established. Germany, yeah, maybe. Spain, they've built a lot there. And I know that they're building. I know that. I know they're sending out ambassadors to grow the game, and I get that. But in terms of and I personally don't consider Mexico to be it is technically an international game, but playing in Mexico isn't super far. If the Rams and the Cowboys played there, it's a far travel, sure, but it's not it's a super far travel, The only reason they play 18 games is to get more international games, and I'm not a fan of them because you have to wake up early and they have like the worst matchups. Like it's like the last year or 2 years ago they had the Colts and the Patriots playing in Germany. Was it? Gosh, that game was hard to watch. That game was really ugly, really really ugly. But it's just something. It's like I don't really know. I personally don't like 18 games because what like again, and I'm going to go back to this. What defines you as being mediocre? Because in my opinion, if you're anywhere from 9-9 to say 11-7, if you're 12-6, I think you're still mediocre. Like you're not like a great team. In the NFL right now, 9-8 is the perfect way to say you're mediocre. 10-7, you're above average. 11-6, you're above average. 12-5, and it goes so on and so forth. 9-9, 10-8, that doesn't really separate teams. Teams that go 9-8, teams that go 10-7 are very different. We've seen that this year. We've seen that in the last couple of years. But overall, I'm not a big fan of this. I don't think there should be 18 games. I don't think it works. The only proposal I've heard that I don't mind, I think Joe Burrow talked about it. He said Pro Bowl in the middle of the season, 2 bye weeks. That I can kind of work with. And the last news of the week, OBJ to the Giants is unlikely, which is a shame for me because I'd love to see him back in New York. But here's what happened for those of you who don't know. OBJ went with his son to MetLife Stadium, and he took a picture in the parking lot. He was sitting down, and someone was in his lap. He took a picture. Someone took a picture behind them looking at MetLife Stadium. He said in the captions, like, "Oh, I made a lot of memories here. Like I balled out here." Malik Neighbors in the comments said, like, "We got work to do. Like our job isn't finished." Abdul Carter reposted the post, the OBJ's post on his story saying, "Let's get to work." Then we're like, okay, this could happen because we saw something like this happen a couple years ago or 3 years ago now at this point when the Giants were closing in on the playoffs and their number one receiver was Sterling Shepard. I mean, or no, Shepard tore his ACL that year, not Sterling Shepard. Sorry, number one receiver was Jerry Slayton, or at that point maybe Isaiah Hodgins. And don't get me wrong, they were good that year. Hodgins was great that year, but I would have loved to see OBJ back. And it was either the Rams, it's either going back to the Rams, the Cowboys, or the Giants. And apparently he was going to, Jerry Jones said, oh, he's going to be a Cowboy, and he never was. But I would have loved to see him back in New York, and they didn't sign him. Obviously, there was injury concern. He did visit, I believe, and they had a couple meetings with OBJ had a couple meetings with Shane and Dable, but there was nothing else there to be done. And Jordan Rana from ESPN, Giants beat reporter for ESPN, he said it's unlikely. Like I doubt it's going to happen. I don't see it happening. So it's unfortunate. That's probably it for OBJ. He was last with Dolphins last year, and he fought injury after injury. So I don't know. But OBJ to New York is unlikely. Also, Jason Pierre-Paul said, I wouldn't mind coming back to New York. I'd love to finish my career there. We've heard that is also unlikely because it's such a crowded defensive line right now with Tibbs, Burns, Carter, obviously. There's a lot of guys there. Darius Alexander, Dexter Lawrence, adding a guy like JPP, probably not the best thing if you're having those three. If you already have Tibbs, Burns, and Abdul Carter, not really much you can do there. But JPP said wouldn't mind coming back. So we can see how that kind of ends as we get closer. This is how we're going to end the episode here. Again, like I said, make sure you're looking out for me. There's like really nothing to do here. I'm probably just going to end up doing these longer news recaps for you guys to kind of get news and my reactions on things. Look at my shorts page. I'm definitely going to be posting there. Instagram, I'm going to try and get some more up. So definitely keep an eye out on that. This is Talkin Football. That's what I got to say about that.